John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, and Daniel Craig. What do these three actors have in common? Each of them have played in fantastic westerns. Well, mostly. And if you're anything like me, you grew up with the Duke. You grew up with the good, the bad, and the ugly, and are immediately interested in any western movie that's being released today. I still remember watching Clint Eastwood movies with my dad, getting ccaught up in his dry attitude and BA behaviors.
Even a filthy beggar like that has got a protecting angel.
And while plenty of games have emulated the Wild West, only a few have managed to capture the charm and charisma that Westerado double-barreled has managed to capture. Sure, there's been your Red Dead Redemptions and your gun games, but very few westerns actually managed to semi-parody life in the West, all the while making it seem more charming, like Westerado has managed to do. For a few examples, the game actually spells things out like a westerner spoke, from spelling I like ah, or dropping letters and words to give them a western flair. The game's aesthetics are beautiful, ranging from Indian burial grounds to mines and tunnels. The pixel art looks great, and you can tell that there was a lot of care put into this game. I'll talk about all of that more later, but until then, let's just move on to what makes this game what it is, the fantastic quests. You play the character of the younger brother who ranches with his family. You wake up one day to go help your brother on the ranch, and as you're herding your buffalo, one manages to break free. You run off to chase it, and when you return, you find that your home is on fire. You race to the scene, finding that your mother has died and that your brother has been gravely wounded. He tells you that it is your job to find and kill the man who did this to your family, to exact revenge for them. After he speaks to you, he asks you to end his suffering. With one pull of the trigger, you leave your brother with only one lead. Go to your uncle and see if he can help you exact your revenge. When you finally reach your uncle, you're told that he's willing to help you, and he gives you a clue as to who the man who killed your family could be. This opens up one of the coolest features in the game, the clue system. Each time you help somebody in the game, they give you a clue as to who the man who killed your family could be, each clue being a piece of clothing that the murderer wore. This gives you the incentive to go out and help the townspeople, and find more about the man who killed your family. Your uncle sends you to Clintville, with instructions to go to the sheriff, who will have more information for you. After you arrive in Clintville and go to the sheriff, he sends you off to another citizen who may help you, and the string continues until you have enough clues to unravel the mystery as to who killed your family. This is where the game really excels, the side quests. You see, the whole game is based on these side quests, from helping people to get the train running again, to going out and finding a woman's husband who's been trapped in the mine for 20 years. Every side quest puts you one step closer to finding your family's killer, and that just gives you incentive to go out and do more side quests. And while it's hard to say that there isn't a main quest in this game, the one it does have is kind of pushed to the side so that you can focus on helping the townspeople. That doesn't mean that you're not reminded of the side quests, because it seems like everyone in the West knows about the murder of your family. It's a bit odd, but I suppose it does emulate movies in the sense that everyone knows who you are and what you want. When you finally do reach the end of your quest, it's something that really blew my mind, and I personally thought it was a fantastic game. Now that I'm done talking about the side quests, let's talk a little bit about what I consider the best thing about this game, the game world. It's just beautiful. I mean, look at it. From sun-dried deserts to rocky mountains to beautiful buffalo-filled plains, the developer of this game really tried to give it the western feel. You'll see old destroyed buildings, native living areas, and dark, creepy mines. It's easily one of the most beautiful indie games I've ever played, at least in terms of pixel art. And don't even get me started on the music. Some of the tracks are fantastic. They take the classic structures from other western songs and bring them a new, fresh take on the world. From long-winded whistles to lonely guitars in the night, most of the songs are brilliant. I say most because there are a few that actually killed the mood, and it felt like I was playing more of an action game than an actual western. I know that sounds confusing, but that's the only way I can actually think to put it. And while we're on the topic of the gaming world, let's talk about all the references to pop culture that's in this game. Things like towns being named after Clint Eastwood, or finding the gravestone of Wayne John. Or we can talk about all the glorious Doctor Who references. Oh my, all of the references to Doctor Who. It sure is bigger in here than it looks. Wibbly, wobbly, timey-wimey. Is it weeping? There was a lot of love put into this. And while there is all this love, there's one part of the game that I found absolutely boring and obsolete. The combat. This being a 2D game, I didn't really expect some mind-blowing combat, but I certainly expected something more than this. Since you're playing on a 2D surface, you're allowed to shoot in two directions, left or right. And while this is okay for the combat, it can be really weird at first, especially when there's an opponent that you could have killed if you have the ability to shoot upward. And while you can purchase more weapons, none of them feel like it's really worth it since they're pretty much the revolver with added range. The only weapon that I'd say is worth purchasing is the double revolver, because then you can fire 2 bullets for the price of 1, and you can shoot in both directions at once. Your life in the game is measured by how many hats you have. This is a cute system, and when you kill enemies you can actually pick up their hats and recover your lost life. And while most hats don't change how much damage you take, there's one hat, the Miner's Hat, that lets you see in the dark and when you're in the mines. You can also purchase hats from the general store in Clintville, or in the Haberdash in Santa Ana. I thought the system was charming and easy, something that really fit the game. Despite these little flaws, I would say that this game is totally worth it, at a lower price. Right now the game is priced at $15, which is way too much for how short of a game this is. The first time I beat the game, I explored 100% of the world map and 58% of the mines. I beat the game in 45 minutes. And while I didn't do all of the side quests, I did do a lot of them. And yes, when you beat the game, you unlock other characters, but the only difference between characters is how many hats they have and what weapons they start out with. While this does add some replayability, it doesn't warrant a $15 price tag for a game that can be beaten in 45 minutes. If you see this game on sale for maybe $5 or even $10, buy it. There's so much love and care in this game, it's hard for me to say no. And while this game is short, I really enjoyed it, and it's got a chance to earn my indie game of 2015.